Journalist, Ciryl Gane is maybe next opponent for you?
Well, he can fight Almeida first because he refused to fight with me. So the guy is acting like, it reminds me of like a private school entitled Rich Kid or something.
But if it's not Aspinall, we'll go from there. It ain't gonna be Gane though. I asked for him already in the past. He missed that bus.
Fellas, there was once a time when Ciryl Gane went from being one of the most exciting prospects, not only in the heavyweight division, but in the UFC. He was piecing everyone up with his striking. He was genuinely just an exciting prospect. And I feel like nowadays, he kind of just reminds me of the entitled heavyweight who cherry-picks opponents, right? He's not the heavyweight that goes and fights anyone and everyone, and that attitude just loses your respect. So I feel like Ciryl Gane is definitely losing everyone's respect. I did a video quite similar to this not long ago, and a lot of people swarmed me disagreeing. They were like, oh, Ciryl Gane is, you're being too harsh on him, but I feel like I still stand for what I said in that video, in that Ciryl Gane is still losing everyone's respect. I mean, first of all, he had 2 title shot opportunities. I mean, first of all, it's very rare that we get a title shot. We've got Tom Aspinall as the interim champion who still hasn't had a title shot. Ciryl Gane's had 2 title shot opportunities. He lost to Francis Ngannou and he got absolutely dominated by John Jones, and he still wants to call shots as if he has any leverage in the heavyweight division to call shots. Mate, you failed both of them, especially the John Jones one. In the fashion that he lost that fight, he has no right to pick opponents. And it's not even like he got title shots off really impressive wins. If Ciryl Gane would have gone out there and got title shots off guys like Aspinall or Pavlov, fair enough. He might have been one of the best in the division, and, you can then call him, you can allow him to call shots. But the guy got a title shot from Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, and now he wants to get a title shot from Sergey Spivak. These are all heavyweights that aren't even the elite of the elite. Derek Lewis is barely even in the top 10. Ciryl Gane's on a 4-fight losing streak. Not Ciryl Gane. Tai Tuivasa's on a 4-fight losing streak, all by way of finish. And I know at the time when he beat Tai Tuivasa, it wasn't the case, but that just, aged really bad for him. And Sergey Spivak looked like he looked like he didn't want to be there against Ciryl Gane. And now he wants to get a title shot off Spivak. And I pray that the UFC don't give Ciryl Gane a fight with Marcin Tybura. Marcin Tybura already got knocked out by Tom Aspinall, and I know he's coming off a good win over Tai Tuivasa, but again, it's Tai Tuivasa. The guy's 1 fight away from being cut from the UFC. So I pray that they don't just feed Tai Tuivasa to Ciryl Gane, and then Ciryl Gane can get 2 wins over unimpressive heavyweights and then call for a 3rd title shot. I think it's just, it's really entitled, and the main problem is that he keeps refusing to fight fighters. I mean, you saw the clip. He refused to fight Aspinall after Ciryl Gane went in Paris and fought, obviously, Sergey Spivak and beat him. Aspinall was in Paris, he was ready to fight, and he refused to fight Aspinall because it did nothing for his career. I mean, first of all, that would have been one of the best fights in the heavyweight division. You've got Tom Aspinall, one of the fastest, one of the slickest heavyweights in the UFC, against Ciryl Gane, again, one of the most athletic heavyweights in the UFC. That fight would have been amazing. And then Ciryl Gane refused to fight Aspinall. He didn't even let Aspinall get in the octagon. He didn't even want to mention Tom Aspinall, and he completely just ignored him because it does nothing for his career. And now suddenly, when Aspinall versus Pavlov gets made and Aspinall wins the interim belt, suddenly, all of a sudden, Ciryl Gane immediately wants to fight Aspinall. He wants to fight for the interim belt. And I just feel like that attitude of things, like, you want to be, if you're a fighter at the top level, to get everyone's respect, you want to be one of those fighters that fights anyone at any time, just like Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlov did when they fought on short notice at UFC 295. Whereas Ciryl Gane, like I just mentioned with Tom Aspinall, it seems like he only wants to fight when it gets him a title shot or he's fighting for the belt. And I feel like that entire attitude, and it's not even just Tom Aspinall as well, it's also Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes has obviously been floating around the heavyweight division for a while, not necessarily the most consistent, obviously got knocked out by Pavlov, but he's coming off a good win over Gelson Almeida. And Curtis Blaydes said that previously in the heavyweight division, Ciryl Gane had been offered to fight him, and he refused to fight Curtis Blaydes. And all of a sudden, now that Curtis Blaydes has got a win over Gelson Almeida, people are matching him up against Ciryl Gane, and Blaydes is just straight up refusing Gane. If you're going to refuse me when I'm not doing the best, why would I fight you when I'm doing the best? Curtis Blaydes wants to fight Tom Aspinall, and it seems like that's going to be the next big fight in the heavyweight division. But yeah, Ciryl Gane, it's not even just that as well. Sergey Pavlov, I was really expecting to see Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Pavlovich. I thought that would be the next fight to make. You know, they announced that Volkov would be taking on Jelton Almeida, and I thought, okay, this certainly guarantees Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Pavlovich. And then they just went out there and announced Volkov versus Pavlovich, which kind of confirms that Ciryl Gane's not going to be fighting Pavlovich, obviously. And unless he's fighting Jelton Almeida, and if he does fight Jelton Almeida, I'll give him his props. That's a really difficult fight for him, but I don't think he'd refuse to fight Pavlovich and then go and fight a tougher matchup in Jelton Almeida. So I feel like Ciryl Gane does a lot of cherry picking, and he just wants the easy path to a title shot. He doesn't seem like he has the attitude of anyone, anytime, any place. It seems like he kind of knows that he can't beat everyone, because if he knew that he could beat everyone, he wouldn't be refusing to fight the difficult fights. He wouldn't be refusing to fight the Aspinalls and the Pavloviches. He'd be fighting anyone it takes to get to that title shot, rather than cherry picking the fat heavyweights like Spivak and Tuivasa and Lewis, and probably going to be Marcin Tybura next. And he always gets it in Paris as well. He always gets the benefit of the doubt of getting big fights in Paris. And I feel like, yeah, Aspinall explained it perfectly. He kind of just comes across as the entitled rich kid. The entitled rich kid who gets title shots whenever he gets an easy win, who gets to fight in Paris against these fat heavyweights, who gets destroyed by the champions in immediately just one fight, you know, and gets thrown back in the title picture, picks and chooses who he fights. And I feel like that entire attitude, it's just not really something you want to respect. Listen, I'll respect Ciryl Gane if he fights either Aspinall, Pavlovich, Blades, or Almeida. And I know that Aspinall and Blades are now kind of turning down the matchup with Ciryl Gane, but that, like I just said, that's because Ciryl Gane turned them down before. So if Ciryl Gane was to go out there and fight a guy like Pavlovich or Almeida, I know Almeida's just been knocked out, but I'd even give that a credible matchup for Ciryl Gane, because Almeida's looked good previously to the Curtis Blades fight, and he's a really dangerous fight for Gane. So if Gane fights and beats either Aspinall, Pavlovich, Blades, or Almeida, you know what? I'll give him his credit. I think he might be, you know, he can get thrown back in the title picture, maybe get a title shot over one of those wins, and those wins will genuinely make me respect Ciryl Gane again. But if he's just going to keep cherry-picking opponents like Marcin Tybura, or if he goes out there and ends up fighting Rosenstrike, I'm just not going to be interested. And it's not even just that. It's also a couple of other things that, you know, kind of make me lose respect for Ciryl Gane outside of the way that he manages himself. Like I said, the fact that he's always getting granted shot fights in Paris, but he's also not the most clean fighter. You see whenever he's finishing fights, like he did with Sergey Spivak and Tuivasa, a massive flurry of back-of-the-head shots. He just comes across as quite a dirty fighter in the octagon. I mean, literally the first shot, 5 seconds into the fight with John Jones, he's already gone for a nut shot. Am I saying he deliberately goes in there to try and foul opponents? No, but it's also not nice watching him get these finishes where there's about 50 back-of-the-head shots. Mate, you're one of the most elite strikers in the heavyweight division, one of the best in the UFC. How are you struggling to land, you know, accurate shots that aren't on the back of the head? I don't understand that. But yeah. Overall, with Ciryl Gane, I feel like he comes across as this entitled kid who wants to get the free title shots off not earning the title shots. I want him to. If I had to match him up against someone next, I would do it against Jelton Almeida. I would have done it against Pavlovich, but now that Pavlovich is fighting Volkov, it's got to be Jelton Almeida, because I swear, if Ciryl Gane ends up fighting Marcin Tybura, and then they give Ciryl Gane a big fight against like the interim champion in Aspinall, or a title shot or something from a win over Marcin Tybura, I'm going to be fuming. And I know that Aspinall got a title shot, the interim title shot, from a fight with Marcin Tybura, but that was on short notice, and it was for the interim belt. That was supposed to guarantee him a title shot against Jones. But yeah. Overall, Ciryl Gane, I don't like the way he's managing himself recently. I think he's losing everyone's respect. And I've called this out before. People didn't want to agree with me, but I'm sticking with my point. Ciryl Gane is losing everyone's respect. Let me know your thoughts on Ciryl Gane below, and thank you for watching.